Guys and girls, how we have missed you guys so much. It's been so long. Ashley and I can't wait to dig in and help you navigate some of the downsides of social media and our love life.
Yes, social media plays a huge role in our lives these days, and today we see so many people succeeding, but not so much the struggle to success.
So let's figure this out together.
Don't forget during the show to share your take in the comments, and don't be afraid to ask the questions that you need answers to.
Of course, that's why we're here. Welcome to our very first Valentine special of Tangled Heart Strings.
Far from the crowded room, you played my heartstrings. What could I do? Caught by the light in you, the prospect of something new, too good to be true. We were so young and free, a beautiful symphony, no time to deceive. Now all the love has gone. We traded our innocence, tried to stay strong.
All right. Well, we're going to start off talking about the pressure that young adults face with juggling deadlines, Valentine's Day, and social media, as well as the very real FOMO, fear of missing out, that many of us, especially me, face.
We tend to hold ourselves to the standards set by society, forgetting that we're all unique and we all progress in life differently at different levels, different times. And sometimes we aren't able to do the things that other people are doing. And we look at ourselves and be like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure because I can't do what so-and-so can do.
Yeah, we're like comparing how our life is going in what particular order based on, what everybody else is doing. We're trying to keep up with everybody else. And like young adults specifically have a lot of stress from balancing those things because many times they're in school. So they're trying to balance academics, many times work deadlines. They have that social media pressure to have the perfect Valentine's Day. And like I said, that general just fear of missing out. And so thinking through all of these responsibilities, how can they cope with that stress? How can we cope with that stress? I know for me, it's all about boundaries. I have to put boundaries on my time, assigning time where it's very where it's needed. I think back to college, and what I would do is sometimes I would prioritize the wrong things. And it's like was, I got a D minus in like a class that I took that was supposed to be super easy because I would, on the way to campus, I would just get distracted. A lot of times there were people, I went to Ohio State and we have this thing called the Oval. It's like the center of campus, and people would be out there speaking and there would be crowds and protests and stuff. And I would get sucked in, and it was a distraction. And I wouldn't put a boundary like, okay, I'm going to leave 15 minutes early, watch for 15 minutes and go to class. So I was never prioritizing time, prioritizing what I should be prioritizing. I was just letting other things suck my time away. And I got a D minus. The class was history of rock and roll. Like, I took it for fun and I failed it basically. And when I was in college, we didn't even have social media. And so now we've got social media, and everybody has that comparison to make things worse. And how easy is it to get sucked into your phone on like TikTok or something, just scrolling for hours? And so I think for me, like, the big thing about balancing all of those things is boundaries around your time and how you're using your free time.
I agree, because we have access to so much at the palm of our hand. And not only is it distracting, we see other people doing things that we want to do. And we can either, we don't have the time to do them, we don't have the budget to do them, or we just see it and think it's something that we're going to enjoy doing. And then we have this feeling of being left out. And it's hard for people to continue in life when they feel that way. So the big thing with social media is taking a step back, especially at such a young age, because we're so impressionable at our college years, especially because we see everybody else is doing something and we want to do it too. So when Jen gets an A, we want to get an A too. But we're not doing the studying because we're not prioritizing that in order to get that A. So is it really fear of missing out, or is it fear of not succeeding as well as somebody else?
Yeah, I think it's all of that. And I think that comparison can be a real trap for us. And social media, what you see on social media is not everybody's whole picture. It's not their reality. It's just the highlights. You know, Jen might be posting that she got an A on that exam, but she's not posting that she got a D minus in that other class because of distraction or whatever. Because I had some A's too. And then it's just one of those, like, you do feel like a failure. And we're not going to highlight our failures on social media. We're going to highlight our wins.
Exactly. And the same thing happens in the dating world. We envy the relationships that we're seeing on the internet. Like John and Jamie, they have this amazing love story online. But when they're not online, they're fighting constantly. But we're not seeing that. So, I mean, are we really seeing a reality, or are we just seeing what people want us to see? And then we're feeling left out because we want to be John and Jamie. But do we really want to be them? Because they're fighting behind the scenes.
I think a lot of times you see those perfect couples on social media, and they might be compensating for how unhappy they really are. And so they're trying to paint this picture, not because they want to fool everybody else, but because they want to fool themselves. They want to look and say, well, look how happy we are. Like, sure, we have our times, but like, we're doing great. Like, look at these pictures. And I think a lot of times it's lying to ourselves. So instead of actually getting to the root, fixing their relationship, they're just making themselves look like the perfect couple for themselves and for everyone else. And so that's why it's so important not to compare our own journeys with the journeys of other people, especially on the highlight reel of social media.
Right, exactly. No, I agree. And It's difficult to navigate, especially during your college years, is not being so young and so naive. We see everything and we believe everything. Everything is not true that you see on the internet. And we need to remember that, especially on social media and having that FOMO feeling. FOMO is not a good thing. We just want to be ourselves. We need to be ourselves and not worry about what everybody else around us is doing.
Well, and I think going along with that fear of missing out is at the young adult age, they may see on social media pictures of their friends going out and doing all of these great things, or acquaintances, I should say. But they're not seeing that that person is failing their classes because they're constantly going out, being hungover, skipping class. And so it's like, if you have a mission that you want to be successful in college and get these A's and whatever, you're not going to be going out as much as some of those other people. It doesn't mean that you can't go out, but again, it's all about balance.
Right. So finding balance in our grades is by going ahead and making the time to study. Don't go to the party. Go ahead and spend that hour you're going to go hang out with your friends and study if you want to get that A. If you're not worried about that A, go and by all means go to the party. But if you are truly feeling that FOMO of I need to get an A because Jen has an A, then you need to do the same thing that Jen is doing and sit and study for 7, 8, 10 hours, however long it is taking her. We have to prioritize our time in school and then out of school too. We have to prioritize our relationships outside of school. Or do we want our friends more, or do we want school more? Do we want to, have more family time, or do we want to spend more time with our friends? And it's all a balance of prioritizing.
Yeah. And it might even be showing up at that party, but saying like, I'm not going to go until I get through this study guide, or I'm only going to have 2 beers, but having limits and boundaries for yourself and how you're using that time. And then thinking about how that comes back around to like Valentine's Day is, it's like, if you are in a relationship, you want to plan something for your partner. Don't be one of those people that goes out on Valentine's Day and tries to be shopping because you didn't prioritize it. It's like, if this is something that's important, have it in your mind, have it built into your week of, this is what I want to do for my partner on Valentine's Day. And then, okay, so I'm going to get to the store this day. I'm going to prep whatever. And making sure that you have a plan. So I buy Valentine's for my kids, and I bought everything the last time I was at the grocery store the week before. And I knew what bags I was going to use. And while they were with their dad earlier in the week, I got everything ready. It's like, don't be going out at the last minute because you didn't make it a priority.
And make sure you're making those reservations, because reservations are important. Otherwise, you're waiting until the weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Especially when Valentine's Day is on the weekend.
Exactly.
It's going to be a real, yeah.
All right, we're going to move on, and we're going to start off with a hypothetical relationship, since we're talking about relationships. Amber and James just met on a double date with Kathy and Chris. Kathy and Chris have been together in a happy relationship for 3 whole years. They met when they were 16 years old. Imagine that, meeting when you're 16, falling in love, and creating a lifelong relationship at that age. And then you have Amber and James, they're on the double date, and they see how wonderful this is going, and that they hopped into this relationship quickly, and 3 years later, they're still doing so well. So Amber and James decided that on this night that they were going to make it official. But they haven't discussed, they haven't communicated. They just decided, okay, we're going to be together. We're just going to be in a relationship. But they haven't communicated their needs or their wants or their boundaries. And those 3 things are so important. and on Valentine's Day to decide that they're going to get together and stay together, but they have yet to discuss all of those needs. And they're only, what, 20? They're in college.
Yeah, I think at that age, well, gosh, it even happens at our age.
Yeah, it's true.
People don't think to define. People don't think to define what is it that I'm looking for in a relationship? What is it that I'm looking for in a partner? What do I bring to the relationship, or what kind of partner do I want to be? We're just thinking this mentality of, okay, I'm at the age where I need to go through these steps. The steps are find a partner, get married, start a family, get a dog, buy a house, and they have in their mind, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so it's not a question of how deeply do I connect with this person, or do we have the same long-term goals? Where do we see ourselves in 5 years or 10 years? It's just like step one, find someone. And so people just rush to get a partner, any partner, because they don't want to be alone, because they feel afraid that they're going to be left behind. But really, what's more important is everything that you just said, Mia, is talking about boundaries, talking about what we're looking for in a partner, talking about what our values are and what's important to us, and our expectations in a relationship.
Right. So the first thing we want to do when we get into a relationship is not just hop right in. Nobody should ever just hop right into a relationship. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and discuss what our boundaries are. What are the things that are going to be a no-go, we're done? Those are the first things that we need to discuss. Yes, they need to be discussed on the first date. If you plan on going on a second date, these things need to be discussed, especially with social media. Are you going to be okay when this person that you're dating and you've just officially made it, and then you go on and you see that he or she is liking pictures of different people? Maybe they have spicy accounts and that's not okay with you, and you don't want them liking those. That's something that needs to be discussed right away. Otherwise, you're just going to go down this path of, oh my gosh, they're liking this photo. They like this person more than me. Oh my gosh, they're going to leave me. Oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. And then 6 months down the road, you're breaking up because those things were not discussed in the beginning. And not only do we discuss our boundaries, we need to discuss what we need. Oh, talk about your love language in the beginning. You know your own love language. Why are we not telling those that we think we love that that's our love language and that's the type of love that we need in order to feel loved?
Yep. And there's this phrase people say all the time, if he wanted to, he would. If she wanted to, she would. And that's true to a point, but not without communication. Because there might be a woman who's like, well, he doesn't text me every day, or we don't talk every day. And if he wanted to, he would. So I'm just going to cut things off. But maybe in his last relationship, the woman felt smothered and was like, I don't want to talk every day. And he's afraid of smothering her. So it's not if he wanted to, it would. It is, he doesn't want to smother you. And he's taking what he's learned from the past and he's trying to apply it to the present, because you have not communicated to him that you actually want to talk every day. And so you've got to communicate, just like Mia said, you've got to communicate your needs and what you want and what you expect out of a partner. And then if they don't want to do it and they don't follow through, you can go from there, but they have to at least know what your expectation is, or you're setting them up for failure.
Agreed. 100% agree with you there. If you are not discussing all of these things in the beginning, first, second date, if you haven't discussed it on your first date and you do go on that second date, discuss it on that second date, please. Because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for failure. If we're not communicating, it's an automatic failure there. There's just no way for a relationship to work without that communication.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who are only going on dates to find something casual. And if you are looking for your long-term partner and they say, oh, I don't want anything serious, that is not your challenge to change their mind. Believe them. They're not looking for anything serious. You are, you can move on. But I think that like social media specifically, I'm glad we didn't have it when we were like growing up.
Oh yeah.
It came out when I was in college. But there's so much of that comparing and that, like we talked about the highlight reel, nobody's posting the behind the scenes. Like say you got past that first date, the second date, you're 6 months in, like that hypothetical that you were sharing. And you might be trying to force it to work just because you don't want to face embarrassment because you think of an ended relationship as a failure. An ended relationship is not a failure. It just means that this was not the right match. But I think we've all seen it. The married couple, the woman updates her last name to her maiden name, and then she changes her profile picture, or just the dating couple, right? They change it to just a picture of themselves. And then you start going, ooh, is there some juice here? And it's like, nobody wants to be on the other end of that. And so it's like, we want to force it to work. And sometimes it's just not the right match. And so communicating all of those things up front can save you that heartache down the line.
And I think it's important that people, even though we don't like showing it, I think it's important for people to go ahead and post those bad moments. Post them, tell people we're not doing okay, but we're working on it. So people can see that there is struggle out there and not everything is peaches and cream and everything's great and dandy and we're in love, but we're fighting every single minute that my camera is not rolling. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. So maybe we wait 6 months before we post our relationship, or maybe a year before we even post anything about our relationships on social media. Make sure that it's going to be permanent, especially if you're going to feel embarrassed that your relationship has failed. Maybe if you do feel that embarrassment, just wait to post anything, good or bad, on social media. Including
I think waiting to post can be really good idea because you're building a genuine connection with this person without telling the whole world about it, because you're not doing it for that online validation. Mm-hmm. And I do think that there are people out there who just do it for the online validation, to look, like we were saying earlier, the perfect couple. But there's a really big difference between looking perfect online versus actually having a genuine, deep connection with someone. And gosh, it's not just relationships, but there's so much that we do in life to get validation from people instead of just being true to ourselves. It's like we make our decisions based on what we think other people want us to do, or what will make us like be reflected in the best light. And it's like, no, let's just be true to ourselves, our own needs, our own boundaries, have that meaningful connection with the person and build something without the whole world having to know as you go, because it becomes a roller coaster for everybody watching.
Right. And I mean, I see it all the time on social media where these couples are doing great. They're posting all kinds of great things that they're doing together. And then all of a sudden you see them separated on social media. Their accounts aren't the same anymore. They're not posting the same things that they were. And then a few months later you hear, well, this is really what happened. And then they're dogging each other because, they had such a public relationship that everybody's asking, hey, what happened? So of course they're going to be like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How can we navigate this? But they're not even friends at that point because they fought behind the scenes so much. So having that social media validation for your relationship should never be part of your relationship to begin with. If you guys are doing great and you guys want to post things, that's amazing. But you have to remember later down the road, you guys might not be doing so great. And you may not want everybody to know that, hey, we're not together anymore. I mean, it's a really hard thing, especially with social media. It's so hard to navigate. Even just as a single person, it's hard to navigate because then you're like, what should I post? How much of my life do I actually want to share? And how are people going to view me later on when I do get in a relationship? Especially if I'm posting like all my party nights and I meet this wonderful Christian guy and I become Christian, and he's looking back at all my social media and he's like, oh, we can't be together because I mean, you were out drinking with your friends and it's all over social media. People know you for that. You have to remember,
I think
posting stuff online is out there and it is for everyone to see, and it is hard to get down.
Yeah, a lot of it is public too.
Exactly.
It's not even friends only. And I think that you can tell a lot about a person from their social media. Not everyone, because some people hardly ever post.
Right.
But you can learn, gosh, if you follow my social media, you can learn about my whole life.
Right.
But I mean, you can tell about like so much, and you're right. It's like, how much do you want to be putting it out there? I like what you're saying about, sometimes sharing the struggles. It doesn't mean that you're being a drama queen and always posting. Those people who just post, okay, I've had enough, and that's the whole post. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Let us in on the tea. But like, if somebody posts, I'm really struggling because I'm going through, XYZ, or, I need support from my friends, it's different. And you're being authentic and you're being vulnerable and you're sharing. And I think that that's really important in how you build a healthy relationship, especially when we have social media, and that seeking online validation is, number one, be authentic, be true to yourself, know who you are, and don't change who you are depending on who you're around. Number two, have discernment, meaning like, don't just trust everyone, because everyone that's in your ear is not necessarily your friend.
Absolutely.
I've learned this the hard way. I've learned it the hard. I just trusted everybody, and I just was very open and vulnerable, and it bit me in the ass on more than one occasion. So use discernment with who you share with, and then vulnerability. But again, not being vulnerable with everyone every time, but knowing these are the safe people that I can talk with, and being open and willing to be vulnerable with those people.
And also make sure that the things that you're posting 10 years down the road, you're still going to be okay with that being on the internet, especially if you are young and in college and you don't have children yet. You need to think about, what are my children? This is something I never had to think about because there was no social media growing up for me. But think about, in 10, 20 years, when your kids get older and they're like, oh my gosh, I see mom on, TikTok, ancient TikTok, because they're not using it anymore because we develop technology so fast. But are you going to be embarrassed? Are you going to be able to explain to your children why you decided to post that? Think about it like a tattoo. It's permanent. So are we going to be okay 10, 20 years down the road with what we're posting now? That's a really important thing.
I have posted some things before that I took down the next day. And I'm like, that did not need to be out there on the World Wide Web for everyone.
Now, see, me, I just post it and I'm okay with it. And in 20 years, I know that I'm still going to be okay with it because it's authentic. It's me. And that's just my personality. And I'm okay with that. I probably would have posted it 20 years ago when there was no social media, but it's just, make sure that you're going to be comfortable 5, 10, 20 years down the road with what you're posting, whether it be with relationships, things that you're doing outside in life, or, even your academic stuff. If you're posting, hey, I got A's and B's, 20 years down the road, you're going to be able to look back at that. So make sure you're posting that and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did so well in college. So those are things you do want to post. So make sure you're posting your positive things, because those are the ones that you want to see in 20 years, not the parties of us puking in the toilet, getting our hair held back. Those aren't ones that we want to post.
I don't know. Sometimes drunk Ashley posts some gold. Every once in a while, I don't post puking pictures, but every once in a while I post my drunken self being pretty silly, but I post it on Snapchat. I don't post it on
You don't
Facebook.
post it anywhere.
I post it
It
for
disappears.
24 hours. 24 hours, and then it goes away, and then it's just there in my memories for years down the line.
I have people take my phone from me when I'm drinking.
I probably
I have a
should.
feeling.
I probably should, if we're being honest. When we get to hang out, I'm gonna give you my phone. I'm
Okay.
gonna be like, you're in charge of this.
I'll handle your phone for you. So we won't get any drunk Ashley texts.
It's not the text, man. I take the video and I put it on Snapchat just for everyone to see. And then the next day I go, oh gosh, what did I post? I have to go back and rewatch them. And sometimes I just take videos of myself talking to a friend, and then I just spam one of my friends with drunk Ashley videos. Because I don't have a partner. I got to spam somebody. Someone's got to hear the mind-blowing gold that I have to share.
Right? So you're single, right?
I am
Are you
single.
ready to mingle?
It depends on the day.
It depends on the day.
But let's talk about Valentine's Day when you're single. It feels like Valentine's Day could also be named Singles Awareness Day, which the acronym is SAD, which is hilarious and also sad. And you go into the grocery store and you see flowers and balloons and chocolates and all of these things out there. And I went to the store the day before Valentine's Day, and they had added all of these tables up front, and it was just full, and people were just swarming this section, getting stuff for their partners. And it's like the reminder that you don't have a partner and you don't have somebody to buy things for. But is being single really so bad these days? Number one, I don't have a partner, but I do have people I can buy things for. I got Valentine's for my kids, like I said. I have, if you look back there's a little heart. That was a Valentine's Day gift from my dad. So I have people in my life who love me. But also there's a lot of other benefits to being single. Like, I don't have anyone in my bed waking me up in the middle of the night every time they toss and turn or snore. I also snore, so I'm not doing that to anyone else. I can keep the thermostat on whatever temperature I want. I can take a nap anytime I want. I think back to things when I was in a relationship, things that were struggles, which is like money management and parenting. And I get to decide all of these things for myself. I don't have to answer to anyone with how I'm spending my money. Not always a good thing. Sometimes I could use a saver because I'm a spender, but I don't have anyone on my case about why the electric bill or the gas bill was like too high because I had the heat on too much. So it's like there are benefits. And I think when you're single, you are much more attached to your friendships. And so you get more value out of friendships because you are alone and your friends and family are all that you have. So if you're struggling with Singles Awareness Day, Valentine's Day as a single person, just focus on the things that you can do. Being free, you have autonomy over your body, your time, your home. Like it's not all bad.
Right. It's not all bad. Sometimes I wish I could live that single life. I don't know that I would survive it because I've been in a relationship for so long. I don't know that I could do the single life. But when you were at the grocery store, why didn't you just buy yourself something? Why didn't you, go and get your nails done on Valentine's Day? We can make Valentine's Day, and I do it for myself, even though I'm in a relationship, create it as a self-love day, because we don't really celebrate it as a couple's day because we don't do the commercialization thing, but make it about self-love. Like, what do you love doing? And making sure that you're doing all the things that you love, especially on Valentine's Day. Going to get your nails done. Go get that $10 coffee. I don't know where there's a $10 coffee that came out wrong. Five.
I do.
$5
I know
coffee. You know, go and walk around the mall, buy yourself something, buy yourself flowers, take a bubble bath. I mean, there's so many things that you can do as being single. And even if you're in a relationship and your significant other, whether it be male or female, is off overseas, you can make it about a you day or a you and your kids day. It doesn't, Valentine's Day has changed so much over time, and we can make it whatever we need to make it for ourselves. It's traditionally used to celebrate love. So why aren't we celebrating the love for ourselves, the love for our children, the love for our friends around us if we don't have a partner? We should never make a day feel so sad just because we're single. And I don't like using the word alone when you're single, because you have yourself and you have all that love that you have for yourself. So you're never alone.
Yeah. And I'm fortunate because my birthday is on Valentine's Day. And so I always make it a self-love day. I take every Valentine's Day off work, and I go to lunch with my dad because my dad's like my best friend. And I do something for myself. Sometimes I get a manicure. I actually got this manicure the week before, so I'm all set. This year I got a massage. And so, and then I had some people over that night for a party. But that's another thing people are doing these days is these Valentine's Day parties. I've never been to one because it's always my birthday, and so I always have a birthday party. But you can just take the day to get together with your friends. So I love that idea. Buy yourself flowers. I always get flowers for my birthday. So that's why I didn't buy myself flowers, which they're right there from my best friend, Melissa. But yeah, do something for yourself. Do for yourself what you would traditionally do for a partner. If you would cook them a nice meal, or you would get them flowers or their favorite candy, do that for yourself. I love that idea.
And if you're not happy with your love life and you are looking for that special someone, maybe making your first date on Valentine's Day would be a good idea too.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, if you're out there looking and you're single and you're definitely ready to mingle, find that dating app, because we know they're so popular and they work so well. Just make sure that you're being safe and somebody knows where you're going, who you're with, and what time you're expected to be home. If you plan on not coming home, make sure you text that person that you have told what time you're supposed to be home, that you're going to stay out a little bit later, or maybe you're going to stay over at that new date's house. You never know.
You never know. You could actually put right in your dating profile, I'm looking for a date for Valentine's
Absolutely.
Day. And they know going in, this communicating the expectation and what you're looking for right up front.
That's a good idea. Making sure that you're putting that communication in your dating profiles, making sure that, be like, hey, my love language is gifts. I
love that.
There.
My love language is gifts, and Valentine's Day is Friday. So
right,
keep that in mind.
Bring the flowers with you. It would be great if we could meet on Valentine's Day.
Yep. I love putting in a profile like important topics that I want to talk about. Right. And sometimes, you can kind of get in just the messaging, like how, they feel this way or this way, and kind of start a conversation there. And then you can continue it on that first date.
I love that idea. I really do. Putting your expectations in your dating profile. I think that should be a new trend for sure. We need to put that out in the world.
I have a dating profile, but I haven't been on it since November. So I'm afraid to go back on it because I'm like, oh, there's probably going to be just people like who have been out there that tried to match with me, that now I'm going to try to match with them, and they're probably not even on there anymore because it's been 3 months.
But that's okay, because there's going to be this whole new group of people that you're going to be able to meet, and you can already, and You don't need to worry about the ones that have already seen your profile, because now you're going to add all of your expectations into it. And then you're going to get the right crowd coming towards you, and not the ones that aren't going to be compatible with you, because you've already created that communication line through your profile.
Exactly. I saw a TikTok that basically said, when you're on a dating profile, or when you're making a dating profile, you want to keep it as generic as possible and put as little about yourself as possible, because you want to get the most matches. And so when it's like something I love, don't put a passion, put tacos. But I believe the opposite, because I don't want to get the most matches. I want to get the right matches.
Right.
And I don't want every guy that thinks I'm pretty to swipe on me if we're going to be out of alignment on all of the things that matter. So I'm like, put the detail, put what's important to you, put what you're looking for, put what your passions are. And then when somebody is in alignment and they see all that, they're going to go, oh my gosh, yes. You'll have less matches, but they'll be more meaningful. So it's quality over quantity for me.
Also, if you are in the kink lifestyle, make sure you're putting that in your dating profile, so you're not matching with somebody that's vanilla, and then you find out 3 months down the road when you finally sleep together that, hey, this person's not going to be compatible with me sexually. To be honest with you, I think having that in your profile is definitely important on top, and creates that open communication within that community also.
Yeah, and then you feel like you've wasted 3 months.
Exactly. We don't want to waste time. We're all growing at the same rate. We're aging a day at a time, and we don't ever want to waste our time. So creating that open communication in the beginning will make us not feel like we're wasting our time. And if it ends, that's okay, because we have already put all of our effort into it, and we've already done the communication, and finding out that it's not going to work earlier is much better than finding out it's not going to work later.
Yes. And if you do have that kink thing in your profile, you may attract a vanilla person that's open to possible something down the road. And so you might be able to teach them things, but you've been upfront from day one. And they're going in going, well, I've always been kind of vanilla, but I've always been interested in trying new things. But that expectation is set from day one, from the first swipe.
Exactly. It's always good to bring others into the community. It's always,
maybe I'll join it someday. I don't know.
It's always fun to teach others about the community too.
Well, we can take that offline.
Right? I'll explain everything to you. It's okay.
I feel like I've already learned a lot from you.
So, have you guys been struggling with that work-life balance, that work-love life balance? When do we reevaluate our priorities? And is your career getting in the way of your love life? It's important, especially if you're starting a new job like me, to communicate all of your time management that you need to be communicated, making sure that your partner knows your work schedule, making sure that your partner knows when you're going to be out of town. And then is it going to cause a problem in your love life? Does work cause a problem with our love lives? I think it does. I think it causes a problem because we try to keep that work-life balance separated when there really shouldn't be that big of a separation. Your partner needs to know everything about your job, and you need to tell your partner everything about your job, your schedule, your meetings, and checking in at night is the most important time to do this.
A daily check-in.
Daily check-in. And you can change your priorities every day. You don't have to set priorities and they're law set in stone. Your priorities can change every single day. But communicating your priorities with your partner, whether it be within your career or your home life, creating that communication and explaining priorities to them and then learning their priorities, you guys can be on the same page and move forward throughout life.
I heard it. I read an article a few years back that talked about work-life balance is gone because now it's work-life integration.
Right.
Because it's no longer, for most people, it's not, I leave for work and I'm there from 9 to 5, and then I come home and I keep work at work and I keep my home life at my home life. Like sometimes you're going through stuff in your home life and it might affect your work because you're in emotional turmoil, or same thing. Sometimes work is overwhelming. And in other cases, you don't have a 9 to 5 day job. You might have a job where you're responding to messages on social media on your phone. I know I manage my band. And so I'm constantly like in between working or when I'm out with friends or whatever, I try to stay off my phone because I want to be present with the person I'm with. But if they get up and go to the bathroom, I'm responding to that message and trying to, be accountable to my work. And so it's like your life and your work are really integrated. And so finding that balance so that you're not letting your work priorities slip, but you're also not putting work above people who are important to you and who are your life. I mean, your kids, your partner, your family, your friends, like this is why we live. We don't live to work, we work to live. And so integrating it all together and finding out what works. And it all starts with exactly what you said, communication.
Yes. And in being in social media and doing the things that I do, it's really difficult for me to put the phone away. It's difficult for me to step back away from work. So I integrate my work into my daily life. I always have my phone on me, but we have communicated. I have explained to my kids and my husband that, this is how life is going to be for a little while. And eventually I'll be able to step back and we'll be able to spend more quality time together. But letting them know that that's my struggle at the moment and having that communication with them, they totally understand now, and we're not struggling in that aspect anymore. It was something that we did struggle with for a little bit because I was constantly on my phone with social media and trying to make sure that I'm making these messages, that I'm sending the emails, I'm posting where I need to post, just to be able to do what I'm able to do.
Yeah. And I think that when work is really busy, it's number one, prioritizing, just like you said, but also developing a plan with your partner and with the people who are important to you. I had told my kids that I would take them to a hotel for New Year's Eve. And usually my band only plays New Year's Eve the years that my kids are with their dad. But we got an offer and I'm like, well, I don't want to do it. So I'm just going to quote a really high price and it'll be too high and they'll tell us no. But they told us yes. And I was like, well, shit, because I had this plan with my kids. And so I got together with my kids and I'm like, okay, so I'm playing on New Year's Eve. We talked about doing a hotel. Let's come up with a plan together so that we can have a fun New Year's Eve and we can all do what we want. And so what we ended up doing was the New Year's Eve gig was out of town. So we got a hotel there. And we did an early check-in and we went up and we spent the day at the hotel swimming and we took snacks and then we got all ready and they went to the show with me and we stayed the night in the hotel and we left the next morning. And so it's like when work gets in the way, sometimes it's unavoidable. I could have avoided that. I chose not to. But when work gets in the way or feels overwhelming, it's like we can come up with a plan that works for us and our families, but allowing them to be a part of developing the plan that works for everybody.
And that's exactly why I say we can't have this work-life balance. It needs to be more of an integration, especially with so many people using social media as their daily income to support their families. Having being on social media and posting constantly to make sure that you're getting the likes that you need, you're getting the interaction that you need, and you're moving those followers to whatever platforms that you need them on to make the purchases or to do the subscriptions or whatever it is. You're constantly on your phone with social media, especially if you're working in social media. So integrating that with your family is probably the best thing to do nowadays, is being like, okay, yes, I need to make 3 posts and then we're going to spend 30 minutes together. Or maybe it's, hey, you know, I'm going to take and only take Sundays off, and I'm not going to do anything on Sundays for social media. I'm not going to post. I'm not going to pick up my phone. The only time I'm going to pick up my phone is if I'm talking to one of my family or friends or whoever it is in your life. That's the only time you pick up your phone. So pick a day of the week. That is like the one thing that I do that has been so successful, is picking a day of the week to not go online. I mean, you can go on your socials and post like your everyday things, your personal socials, but when you're using it as a business, you need to pick a day of the week and just be like, okay, I'm not going to be online this day. All of my subscribers know this. All of my followers know this. You know, I'm not sending out emails. I'm not making any posts or anything like that. And then you're creating that family life time on those Sundays and condensing it. Go out and have fun with them. Make sure you're getting out of the house to spend time with them. Not only are we going to sit down and watch a movie, maybe we're going to go to dinner too, or we're going to go to Five Below. I know that's a popular store with the kids. And everybody's going to get $20. So everybody have a field day, spend your $20. And then we're going to go home and we're going to open these things and we're going to figure them out together. Instead of saying, okay, go to your room, you've got your new toy, sit at the kitchen table and be like, oh, what did you decide to buy? And why did you decide to buy that? So you're creating that family time too.
That's really fun. One thing you can do too, I love the idea of having a day that you're not on there. You can schedule posts on some of the apps.
Yes.
And so you could go when you've got time and say, okay, I'm going to schedule out a post for Sunday because I'm Sunday's going to be my family day.
Right.
One thing that I do, I felt like I was always trying to make myself look presentable every day with like hair and makeup and whatever, because I'm going to make a TikTok and I need to look cute this day. So what I do instead is, if I have a cute day, I just go ahead and I'll record 3 or 4 different TikToks, and I don't post them all at once. I'll just post them periodically throughout the week. That way I'm not thinking every day, okay, what content do I want to share today? It's like, I already recorded 4 things yesterday. And so that's going to get me through the next couple of days so that I'm not on my phone and focusing on all that nearly as much. If I could figure out a way to schedule posts on TikTok, I would be really doing well. I've not figured that out yet. I don't know if that's a thing.
I've never done scheduled posts on any of my accounts. I just don't do scheduled posts because I just feel like that's like me telling them I don't really have the time for you guys, but I'm going to schedule this for you to see later.
Yeah.
So I
know.
I feel like
I was just going to say Facebook has scheduled posts, and I use that for the band sometimes.
Okay. See, that's different. Like when you're talking about TikTok or Instagram or something like that, I feel like if you're scheduling a post for later on, it's not as authentic and it's not right at the moment. So I've just never done that. I mean, for each their own, if people feel that scheduling posts will be more productive for them and they'll be able to spend more time together with their family or whatever. But I'm a spontaneous person. So like if I think of something, or if I'm like scrolling through and I see a sound I like or something, I'm like, oh, I got to post this right now. It doesn't matter where I'm at. Usually I'm in my bedroom, and that's the only time I post. I don't post anywhere else outside of my bedroom. Sometimes in public, but very rarely will I post outside of my bedroom. And that's just because that's where I do all of my work. I do all of my work from my bedroom. I'm currently in my bedroom right now. So it created a problem in the beginning because, you know, I'm kicking my husband out to do these things. And like tonight, he's sitting in the living room watching TV while I'm sitting here recording for everyone. But that's okay, because we've discussed this, we've communicated this, and I've told him how important this show is to me, how important my social media platforms are to me, and I've communicated that to him, and he's been okay with it. So it's a matter of communication. If your partner's not okay with it and it's something that you want to pursue, you need to prioritize. Is my partner, is this somebody that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life? Or is this, a temporary thing, and my social media is going to be my permanent thing? So you always have to sit there and reevaluate. And sometimes even on the minute, you have to reevaluate your life and be like, hey, if this isn't working for me, is this going to work for me? And can I do it better this way? It's just trying to find balance in everything that we do. And it's so hard sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you get in a season where you just have to reprioritize all of the things that you're doing. So like when we started this show and I started doing trivia, all of a sudden I have a couple nights a week that I now have responsibilities that I didn't have before. So that might mean that I'm going out with friends a little bit less, or I'm going out with friends a little bit later or a little bit earlier. It may mean if you do volunteering and work is just grueling right now, it may mean, okay, I'm going to take a break this month, or I'm going to volunteer a little bit less. And so just, you have to, I am one that will burn the candle at both ends, and I will keep trying to do all of the things, and then I'll just keep trying to add more, and it doesn't always work. And so figuring out how it all integrates together, how to prioritize, what are the things I want to focus on right now? Because you're right, Mia, it can be minute by minute. It's definitely day by day, week by week. It's like I have weeks that I feel antisocial, that I don't really see my friends much because I'm doing so much work. And then I'm like, okay, next week, I'm going to try to connect with 2 or 3 of my friends, because I feel like I didn't get to prioritize them as much last week. Work is going to slow down. I'm going to prioritize them this week. So it's just shifting minute by minute, day by day, to find out what you need to focus on right now.
And I'm probably going to be shit on for this one, but I am really big on taking a self-care day. If work is too much, family is too much, and everything is just too much for you, take the day off. Spend the day at home alone. Make sure you're telling your partner you're doing this if you're in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, then who cares? Call in sick. I'm sorry, I can't come in today. I'm not feeling very well, which you're not. You're at a point in your life where you need to take that day off and sit and reevaluate and be like, what's important to me? Is this job killing me, or am I going to be okay? And this is just a hard time and a busy time. So if it's overwhelming, don't be afraid to take that day off. Whether it is with work, with family, or with school, it doesn't matter what it is with. If you are feeling overwhelmed at all, take that day and go and take a long bath, take a long walk alone. Make sure you're taking time to yourself, because that it's so important to step back and be like, okay, I'm going to be okay. I just need a day. And that's it.
Yeah, you could take yourself to a movie. You could take yourself out to eat.
Yes.
But I love where you were going with that, Mia. Like, there's free stuff. There's free stuff.
Yes.
It's like you don't even have to spend money necessarily to take a walk or read a book,
I mean, you can just go down to the lake and sit. Grab a picnic, go grab Subway and a book and go down and sit on the grass at the lake and just read a book and be in a quiet space. So that way you can think about what you want in your life, how you alone, not your partner, not your kids, not anybody else, how you alone want to continue your life. Do you want to continue to struggle in this job? Do you want to continue to struggle in your relationship? Is your job doing so well that you needed that day to be like, hey, I'm doing so good. Is it going to come crashing down on me? It's important to do that self-care, self-love. I am so big as a mental health advocate because I went so long with not caring about my own mental health and went down a deep hole. So I promote self-care, self-love, self-days, anything to do with yourself, so you can reevaluate and be like, hey, yeah, I'm okay, but I just need a day.
Yeah. Andy said it in the chat, a mental health day. Exactly.
Yes, Andy.
I'm lucky in my day job. What's that?
No, go ahead.
I'm fortunate that in my day job, we don't have to call in sick. We can just say, I'm taking the day off. And you have so much time that you can call off on like day of call offs. And so I don't have to pretend to be sick. I can just say, I need today off. I don't even have to explain it. But yeah, sometimes you do need the day off from all of the other responsibilities as well.
Yes.
If I take a day off and I stay home, I'm going to end up cleaning and doing projects. So getting out of the house in some capacity is great. You can clear your mind. And I think that one thing our society does not do well is just being alone with our thoughts. We always want something distracting us. We want to scroll on TikTok. I mean, we want to scroll on whatever social media. We have Netflix on our phone. Like, we just constantly have things begging for our attention. So to just be quiet and just be in our thoughts can sometimes be scary, because it's like, sometimes you're like, I don't really want to know what's going on up there, because there's a lot of heavy things that we need to think about. And sometimes that means, there are people, we're saying sometimes people aren't compatible, or they don't have similar goals and values and whatever. And sometimes you need to break off that relationship. Well, if you distract yourself, you don't have to break off the relationship. You just keep distracting yourself.
Right.
But when we're actually alone in our thoughts, we're forced to think about hard things.
Absolutely. And I think everybody needs to spend that time alone and think about the hard things. And I think a lot more people would be happier with themselves, their relationships, and their jobs if they sat and talked about it to their self, nobody else. Having a conversation with yourself. Most people say that you're crazy if you talk to yourself. I talk to myself all the time. Do I answer myself? No. That's when you become crazy. But I mean, honestly, I'm sorry. I got to bring a joke in there somewhere. And then I make myself laugh too. But I mean, really, talk to yourself. Ask yourself, hey, am I happy? Am I truly, honestly happy? Or am I just getting through life? Because if you're just getting through life, you need to reevaluate some things, because everybody deserves to be happy. Whether it's in your love life, your work life, your family life, your friendships, all of those should bring happy thoughts to you. You should never feel upset or anything else other than happy when you think about those things. I told somebody.
One thing I think can really help.
I told somebody the other day.
Oh, no, go ahead.
If you could find a job that you loved doing, you would never work a day in your life. I hear that so often, and I honestly believe that saying. If you can find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, I totally believe that, because when I'm doing stuff for my band, I don't feel like I'm working, because I love doing it and it's so much fun, and I'm scheduling shows and I'm negotiating money, and it's like, this is something that we do for fun, but we also get paid for, but we just love doing it and we want it to be successful all as a group. So I totally agree with that. I did have a job that I loved at one point that I ended up leaving because it just unfortunately did not pay enough. But I loved going into work. It was like my dream, you know. And then other things happened and it was not my dream anymore. And my dream changed, but it was reprioritizing when it stops being fun and you realize it's not going to get you to the goals that you want anymore. You reprioritize, you shift, and you get on a new path that's going to help you get to those goals.
Absolutely. So we hear the word perfect, but I always say perfect is an individual's perception. We need to forget society's standards and stop worrying about what everyone else is doing and focus on what works within our own personal standards and our own personal budget and our own personal goals. Having that word perfect thrown out into the world drives me absolutely insane because it is just truly each individual's perception of life. I think my life's perfect. Somebody else that comes along and hears my life story may not think that my life's so perfect because their perception is different.
Even me, if me 20 years ago saw me today, I would have a heart attack because 20 years ago, me would not have liked current me, would have been very judgmental. And I love my life. And I do feel like my life is perfect in a lot of ways, like perfectly what I would want for it. But even my own self 20 years ago, that definition of perfect has changed. There was a time that I thought the perfect life was being a Christian couple really involved in church, leading Bible studies and leading people to Jesus. And that was what perfect looked for me at that time, which I never had. And that was what I wanted to attain. And now I don't even go to church. And it's like perfect for me now is my kids are happy and healthy and I'm a safe person that they can talk to. And, we love our home. Like it just changes your own definition of perfect. So certainly everybody else's definition, of your life might not be perfect, but I'm like, even my own definition, it changes from year to year.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And bringing this into Valentine's Day, everybody says that the perfect Valentine's Day is you're getting flowers, you're getting chocolates, you're getting, these big, not just flowers, these big bouquets and going extravagant gifts. And I mean, you're spending so much money on Valentine's Day that it's not creating this perfect day. It's creating such a budget problem because you're spending too much money. So I think the perfect Valentine's Day could be redefined by bringing in more thoughtful from the heart gifts and not worrying about how much money we're spending, because we're seeing this all over social media. Oh, such and such bought me roses and then there's like 500 roses in a big bouquet, or so and so bought me a big teddy bear, but the teddy bear is bigger than the person. I mean, it's ridiculous on how much we actually spend to create this perfect life, when it could be just not even monetary. The open communication, the discussing how we want to see our life go, that is what creates a perfect Valentine's Day or a perfect life, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think sometimes we focus so much on the event and not the connection with our partner. I know like promposals and HOCO proposals is like what the kids are doing these days. Like a guy can't just ask a girl to a dance. He has to have some really fancy, clever, funny, whatever way of asking her. And we have to take pictures of it. And then we have to post it on social media. And it's like, she said yes. And I'm like, she's a freshman in high school going to a dance with a boy. Like, do we have to do all of this? And then there's all the focus of like the dance itself, which is all great, but it's like our these kids building a real connection. And the same with a wedding is so much focus on the wedding, the party, but are we building an actual meaningful connection with the person we're marrying? And a lot of times the answer is no. We see people divorcing, within a year or two of getting married because it was all about the wedding. And so I think it's the same with Valentine's Day. Is we put all of this pressure into the perfect Valentine's Day, perfect, and what we're going to buy. But are we celebrating our partners every day? Are we building a meaningful connection? Are we letting them know all the time that we appreciate them and care for them? Because Valentine's Day should not be the day that makes up for the rest of the year. It should just be reinforcing what's already happening the rest of the year.
I agree with that 100%. And that's why I said earlier, Valentine's Day is being redefined. And it needs to be redefined because we don't need a day for love. We need every day for love. Why are we taking one day out of an entire year and that be the only day that we tell our partner or our family or our friends that we love them? And that's how I feel that Valentine's Day has been going, is these couples are struggling or these families are struggling all year round. And Valentine's Day comes around and they do this big extravagant gift. And, they do the flowers, they do the dinner, they do all of these expensive things, and they're okay for the next 6 months. And then they start fighting again because they celebrated Valentine's Day. I just don't like the idea of just celebrating your love for anybody on just one day of a year. And I think that's why I, as a married couple, don't celebrate Valentine's Day, period. If you're only going to buy me flowers on Valentine's Day, don't buy me flowers at all. If you're only going to tell me that you love me on Valentine's Day, don't ever tell me that you're going to love me. Or if you're going to make Valentine's Day such a significant day, and every other day of the year I'm not feeling the love that I feel on Valentine's Day, just stop.
Yeah, I have a little cup that is filled with love for myself. And if I'm going to have a partner, I expect them to also be pouring into this love cup. And you can't just do it on Valentine's Day or Sweetest Day or my birthday. Mine's on Valentine's Day anyway. But it needs to be filled every day. You need to be filling your partner's love tank, so to speak, every day, showing them love in the ways that they receive it. So Mia, your love language is gifts. And is your husband's love language gifts?
Giving gifts, yes. It actually works out perfect.
Oh, it is? Oh, that does work out perfectly. But for
it's
someone
say
it wasn't.
It works out. It works out because it's never a no from him. That's really bad for me because it creates that I'm never gonna have a problem with getting anything that I want. So sometimes it does cause a problem with him being a gift giver, and me a gift receiver.
Oh,
yes. So
it sounds
sometimes
wonderful to me. It sounds like
sometimes it causes a problem, especially if it's like a big gift that I've been wanting for a while, and I'm like, I don't want to ask him because of how much it is, and then when he finds out and he buys it anyways, I'm like, but it was too much money. No. Take it back.
Yeah.
It's really, it does create.
Well, I think that there's some.
Go ahead.
What does it create? Sorry.
It creates.
I was just going to say, I think that there are times when there are people who have different love languages. And so you have someone who loves receiving gifts to feel loved, and someone who that's at the bottom of their list. And maybe they're a physical touch person and their partner's not. Well, if you're a physical touch person and your partner's not, you're not going to show them love by touching them and hugging them and physical intimacy. you're going to try to show them love that way because that's how you show love. That's not how they receive love. So you have to make sure that you're giving people love the way that they receive it. So, buying them gifts or doing things for them around the house or whatever. My sister's love language is acts of service. And so like, she's like, I don't need a hug when you walk in the door. I need you to look around and see what needs done and help me do it. And that's how she's going to feel love. And so just being sure to not just get flowers and chocolates on Valentine's Day, but show your partner love the way that they receive it every day.
And that's done in your first or second date by the open communication and letting your partner know your love language and opening up and letting them know your needs and your wants. And sometimes our needs aren't met, and that's okay because we haven't communicated them yet. So as long as you're communicating your needs and getting them met, that's completely different. And maybe some of them they can't meet and you come to a compromise because you have that open communication, because it's just not something that they're willing to do. And then at that point, you need to know, is that your boundary point? Is that your cutoff point? If this person cannot meet this need, is it going to create a problem later on in the relationship? And knowing that in the beginning is so much easier than finding it out 20, 40 years later. Trust me, it is.
Yes, incompatibility. There's stuff that when I am on dating apps, there's stuff that I will ask, or even if I'm just talking to somebody who I met, there are questions I'll ask before we even get to the first date. And one of them is love languages. And I don't tell them mine, I ask them theirs, because I don't want, some people lie. I don't want to say my love languages are physical touch and words of affirmation. What are yours? Physical touch and words of affirmation, whatever. So I just always ask them first. And then when they answer and we have like the same 3 top ones, I'm like, okay, this is a good start. So yeah, it's important to have that communication for sure.
Okay, guys, we're gonna move on to our next topic, and it's something that is very, very near and dear to me. It's something that I've been through quite a bit, and I think it's important that everybody sit back and really listen. It's something that everybody needs to know about, whether it's about you or maybe it's about your partner, or even it could be about one of your friends, family, or even your kids. So knowing the signs and symptoms is very important. Everyone has felt seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD, at one point or another in their lives. It usually happens when the weather changes and people are not getting outside as much. So they're not receiving the sunlight and the exercise, the vitamin D that we get in the warmer months. So knowing the signs and the symptoms of SAD or seasonal affective disorder are so important.
Yeah, and there are a lot of them. And so I'm going to just kind of rattle some of these off. Changes in mood, feeling sad, depressed, hopeless, or worthless. Changes in your sleep pattern, sleeping more, having trouble getting out of bed, feeling drowsy during the day. Changes in energy, feeling tired, lethargic, slowed down. Changes in appetite, craving carbs and sweets. I might have SAD all year long. Or just having an increased appetite in general. Weight gain, trouble with concentration.
I'm going to stop you right
there
because it's not only
decisions. Yes.
Ashley, I'm going to stop you right there. In the appetite section, it's not only craving carbohydrates and sweets or having an increased appetite. It can also be a decreasing in your appetite or decreasing in the amount of food and weight loss.
Interesting. I could see that, because some people, when they get depressed, they turn to food. Other people, it's not attractive at all. And the desire to eat is just not even there.
Right.
Definitely.
Okay. Sorry.
So no, that's okay. Yeah. If I'm going too fast, stop me at any time.
No, it's okay.
Concentration, trouble focusing, remembering things, or making decisions, memory issues. It can manifest in physical symptoms such as headaches, cramps, digestive problems, aches and pains throughout your body. You can physically feel it. It can lead to a social withdrawal where you feel less sociable, you feel overly sensitive to rejection and abandonment. It can make you just feel generally anxious and irritable. For some people, it can lead to thoughts of self-harm, having thoughts of death or suicide, or even attempting suicide. A couple others, sex drive can decrease for some people with seasonal affective disorder. Self-esteem can go down, and people can start questioning their own value. And then tearfulness, just generally tearing up at anything and any emotion. And there's probably even more. Those were just kind of like the big hitters that came up. But I think that we all have felt some of these at this time of year at some point.
Yes, we usually
So
call
then we have
them.
to question,
We usually call
Sorry,
this
go
the
ahead.
winter blues. It's the most famous name that you ever hear is you're feeling down. So people goes, oh, you just have the winter blues, no big deal. You'll feel better by the time summer comes around. And then summer comes around and you haven't addressed those winter blues yet. So summertime's not going to be very good in the beginning. It's important, even when you're feeling down like this and you feel like you're a burden, because I know that was a big thing with me, is me feeling like I was going to be a burden to everyone around me if I communicated what was wrong or how I was feeling. And I never wanted to be a burden on somebody else or push those feelings onto somebody else. So it's very important that when you're feeling this way, that you're communicating it with somebody, whether it be your partner, your mom, your dad, your friends, your siblings. It's important that when you're feeling this way, that you are opening yourself up to be able to be around people, even though you don't feel like you need to be around people, because the people are going to make you feel better. Whether you feel it's not going to or not, they truly will make you feel better, especially if you're communicating that, hey, I'm feeling down. I'm not feeling myself. I'm extra sleepy right now. I'm eating way too much, or I'm not eating enough. Oh, I've lost 20 pounds. People are going to notice those things, but they're not going to think anything of it because you haven't communicated out into the world, hey, I'm not feeling so great. I need a pick-me-up. I need a hug. I need, somebody to just tell me, hey, I know it's hard right now, but it's going to be okay and you're going to get through this. The most important thing that you can do is find something that you enjoy, or that maybe you enjoyed during that summertime, that you can do indoors if you don't like the cold, whether it be turning on the TV and watching a movie, a comedy to make you laugh, even though you don't feel like laughing, or, turn on TikTok and look up dad jokes. That will make you laugh all day long if you're looking up dad jokes. If you enjoy the winter, bundle up, get outside, make sure the sun is hitting your skin. That's the vitamin D. It's going to make you feel so much better. I personally take vitamin D pills during the winter time because I know I'm not going to get outside because I don't like the cold. So I just supplement the vitamin D with a vitamin D supplement. So that way I'm still getting that vitamin D and I'm not feeling so down. Get out and exercise. If you're at home and you're not going outside, turn on an exercise video, run in place, do some jumping jacks, even 5 of them will just make you feel better. Any amount of exercise, walk back and forth down your hallways. That will get you the energy that you need to be feeling okay. I know we don't want to do it in the wintertime because it's so cold and we just want to bundle up and stay under our blankets, but that's creating that winter blues effect.
I saw something the other day that said, even if you don't go for a walk, you can just crouch down and spring up into a jump, and that will get your blood flowing. And they were saying, do that once an hour. It's going to get your heart rate up. It's going to get your blood flowing, and it's going to just generally give you more energy. It takes 3 seconds to squat down and jump up. And so, yeah, just finding ways to be active. I know that I love to be warm. I've got a space heater on the stand next to me. I'm under the blanket, and I'm just on the couch living my best life. But sometimes you can get into a funk when you do too much of that, and especially this time of year.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what happened to me. I just wanted to stay warm, so I stayed under my blankets, and then I wasn't getting out. I wasn't getting out. I wasn't, interacting with people. That's important too, having that social interaction, because, just walking by somebody that's smiling at you is just going to put you in a better mood. And you smiling and saying, hi, good morning, or good afternoon, asking them how their day went at the mall, at the park. I mean, even at Walmart or Target, at the grocery store, just talking to other people, even if you don't know them, and saying, hey, how's your day doing? Or the cashier, asking the cashier how their day went. That is going to bring your mood up, because then you're having that social interaction. And we as people need social interaction. We are not supposed to be solo individuals.
I agree. I have a friend that I check in with every day. She's a voice memo person, which I love, because I can just hit the record button and I can send her, 2 or 3 minutes. But we check in every day to see how each other's doing. We're both single. If you have a partner, you can do that with your partner. You were talking about the daily check-in earlier.
Yes.
But if you don't have a partner, have a friend, have somebody that you can check in with, someone that can keep you accountable, someone that you feel safe with, that you can be just open and honest about, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what I need help with.
I agree. So if you're feeling down and you're feeling those winter blues, find a hobby, go out and talk to somebody, take a vitamin D pill, turn on some music, blast it loud, and dance like there is nobody watching. Get that energy going, and you'll feel so much better afterwards. I wish I would have listened to myself months ago, so I wasn't feeling so down for so long.
Better late than never.
Right? Oh my gosh, it's that time again. Today's episode has been so much fun. I'm so glad that we were able to hit on all of the topics that we were. Thank you guys for joining us in the chat. Zach, erectile dysfunction, and Sabanti. I am so happy you guys were in here. Sorry we didn't get to all of your comments. I think we found out today.
And Andy.
That can be about self-love also. Valentine's Day is not only for couples. We just need to remember that we need to make sure that we are communicating not only with our partner, but those around us.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that we were able to get together today on this beautiful Valentine's Day weekend. And I can't wait, because in 3 weeks, we'll be back here. We'll be back to doing this every week.
Yes, Ashley, that's correct. Starting in the beginning of March, we will be back weekly on Sundays, March 2nd at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until next time, don't forget to take the time to yourself and reflect on your week and tell those around you that you love them. Thank you for joining us on Tangled Heart Strings. Until next time.
Bye, guys.